Okay, I guess I'm going to start a new playlist this time for the Ghislaine. See, for me in French, it's Ghislaine, but right, Ghislaine. I guess they don't pronounce the S. Anyway, sorry. Her case, I contacted her when I saw about the bail bond hearing. That was over a year ago. I contacted her lawyers at the time, and I sent a letter to her at the detention center, which I have no illusions was put away in a drawer to collect dust, unfortunately, and this is another violation of rights. So the question becomes, did she ever get that letter? You know, as always, I send it to the lawyers. I follow up with a telephone call trying to confirm it. Now I'm documenting that I am making these phone calls by recording them. I mean, because I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, well, I never got that. I never did that. I didn't know," because I'm working on all of these cases and examining all of these cases from human rights standards and preparing everything for the international courts, because I can't get any relief at the national levels. Nobody ever says that I'm wrong in anything that I argue. They go, "You're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right." Thank you for sharing. Like, I don't have anything better to do with my time. Well, admit I've lost 15 freaking years of my life because everyone was to sit in a podium and give a speech and be part of the movers and shakers. I opted out of that a long time ago. And that's where everybody's gonna have a problem, because I didn't opt out because I couldn't hack it. I opted out because I didn't want to be involved. I could hack it, and I've been watching, and I'm like, guess what, you guys? Somebody has been watching, not just looking to monetize and get up on a podium. So still a lot of stuff. I started looking at there's not a lot of information out there. All of these cases, there are going to be a lot of questions when we finally do get down to the road, hopefully before World War III starts and ends. So, but this is, again, an attack on Ghislaine because she's a rich white woman and socialite. And this is really important in the mommy wars stuff that's going on, and why I'm headed to the streets, live on the streets in a tent, can't even get a minimum wage job in Washington, even though 14 years ago, the first header I met with said, "I'll never find you a job because anybody interviewing you will be afraid that in 6 months you have their jobs." So every interview that I go on, every application that I make, whether it be minimum wage, all the way up into the think tanks and president of the World Bank, when Dr. Kim stepped down and I saw David Malpass was many coming in there. Anyway, so, like, yeah, I got discrimination, age, nationality, race, competence, all over the place, whatever, pick your poison and we can argue in this court. But of course, if I can't find any lawyers to take this stuff to the courts, well, So this is demonstrating my own case. What I'm going to be showing a lot with Ghislaine Maxwell's case is that this is as Nancy Eisenberg says in her book, White Trash, the 400-year untold history of class in America. And kind of saying this, comes back from our British traditions. And this is not just the British traditions, this is the European traditions. And, excuse me, East and West. As I always said to my Jewish and Muslim friends and Christian friends, say, I was like, look, I don't know whose mom had a corner on the market on the shame game, but my mom's Catholic. And oh Lord, did she know how to play that shame game. And this is what we got to stop. We got to stop oppressing our children and using our children and creating children that come become adults and leaders of the world, narcissists who don't know how to deal with their own personal issues, much less global problems. And you see this time and time and time again. And believe me, we all, there's a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist with children in Bogota, who treats them through storytelling instead of doping them up, which I think, that's a good start. But as I told Pia, I've never met a problem child. I've only met problem or children with problem parents. So, we've had, and this dates back to antiquity, this power over, this control or be controlled, destroy or be destroyed, Machiavellian paradigm is going from generation to generation, and either you become a narcissist and a psychopath and rise to the top and dominate everybody else, or you are destroyed. This is where the morality of the clergy in complicity, if you will, in conjunction with the ruling elite women in the communities and the society comes in. And this is where women's studies should be about and should have been focusing on, instead of all the gobbledygook theoretical stuff that the feminist, I've read through it. I mean, Moms for America, Kimberly Fletcher, home study. Now, obviously, okay, I think she has a high school education, but how is it that she didn't even read Animal Farm when she was in high school? And it was reading Animal Farm that she started this NGO. Moms for America as well. That's, what's the other one? This is Nancy Pelosi's group. See, Nancy Pelosi's group and Trump's Chris and Ann Miller Republican group, Moms of America, Moms Rising is the Nancy Pelosi one. Neither one of them have done any research. Even the big wig PhDs, academia and everything, they got their own little agendas. And I mean, the worst is perinatal alienation syndrome with Joan Meyer, GW, that's a GW initiative. I mean, you talk about adding cacophony, and she's known globally, and all of the feminists are domestic violence, even the human rights stuff, because it's the human rights in the international development community is the same trajectory as the women's rights movement, which is the feminist movement, in bed with the domestic violence movement. You know, it's a parallel at the national levels with what's going on at the international level. And, you know, they're all feminists, minoritist, affirmative actionists, and managerialist. And the world be damned about capitalism versus communism, which I won't even get started on that with, you know, this. I don't want to, yeah, I'm all over the map, because you need to be all over the map to look at everything intersectionally and see the big picture. So, you know, I guess for as long as this is going on, I'm going to be looking at, you know, the different issues with the Maxwell trial. One of the things that concerned me, I saw last night, was that the defense is not going to be able to introduce any kind of argumentation of what the government's motivations might be in bringing the case against Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, everybody has a right to confront its accusers. And these are political, I mean, I've demonstrated that ad nauseum. The cases that are going on in the courts, it is either political, financial, or personal. It's not about upholding the law. The lawyers say that they don't need any regulation because they're self-regulating. They are not. And that I've showed ad nauseum, because I've knocked at everybody's doors. I told the Maxwell family, I said, take this to Derek Karmer. You know, he's the only one. He was with Chambers. It's a barrister group in London. Amal Clooney is with them. I think she's still there. That's another thing. Amal and George Clooney, not on your watch. Yeah, excuse me. Amal Clooney, when she was approached by some of the victims, she got all of my family courts in crisis newsletters, as did Kara Starmer and everybody in that place that was applicable. 2013, 2014. I don't wait for people to sign up to my newsletters and the information that I'm disseminating. I go out and seek and search. I mean, this is what a human resource person is about, or a journalist is about, or an investigator is about, or an intelligence officer is about. You don't wait until people come volunteer. You go, oh, you know, knock on the door to, you know, in my case, it's, well, here's the information that you need to know. You should know, I've handed it to you. You can't say when we get to the end of the line, you didn't know. Anyway, with Emma Clooney, as with me, with Dee Martin of the Feminist Majority Foundation, who is too busy advancing the rights of women and children in Afghanistan, a la alpha dominance feminist movement of Betty Friedan and friends, to bother with defending the rights of women and children in the United States, where even the feminists admit in their literature, women and children have no more rights. And if you put the dots together throughout their, you know, the literature of the academic lawyers in there, you see they don't have any rights because of the feminist movement. And as the UN report and that study on all forms of violence against women demonstrates, it's the women in society who perpetuate and maintain the violence of men, sexual and physical. Now, this is where they're going after Ghislaine Maxwell and that niche. that she's, that she had conditioned these young girls to be sex trafficked. Well, that's just ridiculous, because the conditioning, and Virginia Giuffre, in this was one of the books that I read back in, this came out when Prince Andrew did the BBC interview. So what was this, beginning 2020 or 2020? So that Giuffre, had been sexually abused around 9 years old, somewhere around that time, which is pre-adolescence. Now that is pedophilia. When girls enter into adolescence, this is not pedophilia. And this is where the feminists are trying to change the definition of pedophilia. Lady Colin Campbell, why hasn't she asked Prince in Buckingham Palace and Prince Andrew, Prince Charles, and I'm worried about Prince Harry. So look at all of that. What does she think? I'm trying to be another, a Lady Colin Campbell gossip columnist in the United States, and that's why she snubs me. I don't know. I don't care. It's just, I knocked on your door, you slammed it in my face, whatever. It's done, it's done. I'm not gonna sit there banging on your door and begging you. I laid my card down. Keep on saying, anybody who wants to play a high stake poker game shouldn't come and crapshoot pennies. So, it's kind of all over the map. But anyway, this is just so unfair, and the treatment of Ghislaine in the prison, this is Brooklyn, I believe. This is reminiscent of what I saw with Maria Jose Carrascosa in the Bergen County, New Jersey prison. That was a high profile case in Spain. Now, why didn't the Spanish government say, what the hell are you doing to our citizen? This is where I keep on getting, this is what I explained. This was in the James Ryan case in Tokyo. When he contacted me, this is the end of 2015. And I said, oh no, there's nothing that can be done. I was horrified. His case is war on domestic terrorism. He's scrolled down on the right side handbar to the bottom, and I've got my X files, which is case files. Not great organization. I do, I got to work on free platform because I get no money for what I'm doing, and everybody in Washington wants to see me living out in a tent out in the streets, and so I can't even get a minimum wage job. So I mean, I'm like, ugh. So I'm, I eat beans and rice and eggs to try and keep my head afloat, because everybody wants to destroy the rich white upper crust bitch. I mean, there's so many. I'm working on my activism work, plus I'm working on, I got to keep a minimum wage job to keep a roof over my head, plus I've had to move 7 times, and landlords, I mean, I got lawsuits all over the freaking place, but I can't find anybody to take them to the courts because I'm white. Now I was minority. So again, this is about class. This is about same stuff, why they're attacking Ms. Maxwell. But as I was saying, when James Ryan contacted me, I said, look, even because I don't have an NGO status, but that has absolutely no relevance. It doesn't matter, and I don't need an NGO status to have the same standings as the NGOs. And I've been doing the job that they should be doing in case building instead of getting on a freaking podium espousing their propaganda, because it's all bullshit. Misinformation and lies and promoting different agendas, most of it. Because we got to produce a lot of jobs for all of the college, the MBAs, PhDs that the colleges are turning out. I never went to kindergarten, they need jobs. So we're going to fill the NGO industry and think tank industry there. And these people, and they just promote cacophony. So as I explained to James Ryan, even if I had all the money in the world, I would not have the power and the authority to challenge a foreign government who is violating the rights of my citizens in labor markets, housing markets, court systems, prison systems, anywhere. Those citizens are in foreign jurisdiction, which gets into the sovereign rights of a certain country. Now, in this case, Ghislaine, she has 3 nationalities. So the Americans, she has American nationality, they're violating her rights. She has standing on all sorts of issues there. But she's also a British citizen or subject and a French citizen. So the French and British government have an obligation to be protesting through proper channels, which is the consulates and the embassies, at the violation of the rights of their citizens, subject, on foreign soil. Now, I contacted recently, all sorts of crap here. I'm tired of all of the labor and housing rights violations I'm getting here. So I went again to the French. Well, I went to the French ambassador's wife as the head, not of Washington Okay, but the head of global expats in Washington, who is not only doing the job that Washington Okay, the FIAF, and FACO, and the IMF Family Association, and the World Bank Family Network, and UN LESA should be doing. So that's where the appropriate channel would have been to notify the consulate. I've already been down there when I got, told the same bullshit that I got in Madrid. So let's just say after 15 years, I went to the top of the food chain on that one and said, okay, I'm soliciting assistance from my French consulate here and French embassy, because the embassy is responsible for the consulate. The consulate's supposed to be do the dirty work, but they do come under the embassy to defend my rights in my own country, asking my country where I'm naturalized to defend my rights in my own country, because I'm getting creamed by some of your French nationals here in Washington, who, by the way, everything that they do to me here, also under French penal law, there is an obligation of, under the penal code, you have an obligation of assistance of a person in danger. Okay, we can argue the danger stuff in the courts. However, non-assistance to a person in danger, and if you don't do that, then you can be held criminally liable. And under the French penal code, that's not the case in the United States, it is in the case in Spain, but under the French penal code, which is different from the Spanish, even if those crimes occur on foreign soil, French to French, it falls under French jurisdiction. So everybody in the French people here in Washington who want to mess with me, you guys are looking at double jeopardy under penal code in France and the United States, and also stuff in the international courts. So, you know, everybody thinks socialites are just, you know, parasites on society. I mean, even with they're going after Ghislaine because, yeah, I'm sure one of the attractions of Jeffrey Epstein is she does come from the upper crust European, because her mother is French. So has a lot of contacts. I mean, I've been in that world my entire life as well, but my father was not a millionaire. He was a world famous cardiologist who didn't care about money, and everybody would help me. His work on thrombosis could really help the COVID victims. You know, so I don't come from money. That's also why with global expats, I was like, okay, I got to make money, and came up with platform. You know, cross between TripAdvisor, Yelp.com, LinkedIn, and Facebook, but dedicated to helping families, not, you know, schmoozing and all the crap they've pulled. So anyway, this is what I've been focusing on. You know, this has to be done. That's what governments, you know, their legitimacy comes from their obligation to protect. Medieval times, against the Romans, well, maybe that was a little bit later, but you know, people attacking the village and or the territory. After that kind of established the nation states, things got a little bit more complicated, but the basic fundamental of their legitimacy remains the same. And what I've been knocking on the door of Prince Charles, you know, and it is Prince Charles, Prince Andrew, and Edward, and William, and, you know, poor Prince Harry needs to be liberated from the clutches of that woman. And old Hollywood. Favorite of Bill Mayer is when he said, what I love about coming to Washington is it makes the people in Hollywood look sincere. And I have to agree with him. Well, it was like over 15 years, heard about 15 years, I heard about, I said, oh, you hit it on the nail. Otherwise, I left this city in the end of the 80s. So I hope, you know, I'm going to go through, there's different stuff. I saw an article, Bill Cosby is free, Ghislaine Maxwell should be too. This is David, sorry, David, I just got my booster shot. Still got a little, so this was David Oscar Marcus, and everybody just, you know, and I agree, we shouldn't have the mandates that, you know, because there are legitimate reasons why, you know, medical, this is something that you have to see with your doctor. This is something for you can't mandate it, but anybody who doesn't have any legitimate, you know, health issues for taking the vaccines, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of information. I understand everybody's, you know, and I'm sick and tired of the party politics. They are just using that to create more cacophony. It's simple. You know, yes, you have legitimate concerns. If you have legitimate concerns, those need to be addressed. But as a general rule, anybody who can, health, whatever, and thank God, you know, with all the stress of them, I mean, poor Ghislaine, yeah, this is really damaging to one's health. Really, really damaging. This kind of torture. But I still keep my weight down, keep exercise, force myself to go out on my walks, even though I can't find a decent gym, and try and stay healthy. You know, if we had healthy societies, we could have comprehensive healthcare systems that paid for everybody who needed it. Instead of, you know, fat, lazy, and stupid, who you know, just are milking it for all it's got and making the situation impossible. That gets in again to how we socialize our children. But this is, it's David Oscar Marcus. He's the appeal lawyer, apparently, for Ghislaine. Hoping to go into that, but I've seen too much bullshit out there. And my heart goes out, I'm sorry, my heart goes out to the poor woman. She must be terrified, because it is torture what they do to people in prison, and it is unacceptable. I don't care what anybody has done. I've always been against capital punishment, life imprisonment. You know, we have cases that, yes, these people are just too dangerous to have out there. And if you look into every single one of the cases, they come from a highly abusive and dysfunctional family. Adolf Hitler included, Trump included, Obama included. I won't see much on Biden, but I mean, well, his wife and Kamala Harris are just two peas in a pod. Doesn't matter if it's white, black, brown, yellow, red. I don't know. I haven't seen any greens. I keep on saying I'm in greens in there yet, but the ladies who are in the game are a piece of work. Now, this is the job of the socialite. Even in Bogota, I think that's why one of the reasons, believe me, it wasn't the corporate and the diplomatic French corps. Oh, they were absolutely horrified that an Amerilock would become president of Bogota gay. And all the crap that I saw going on in these expat wives clubs on the boards when I got to Bogota, and my kids were in school, and so I'm going to start doing more, you know, with my community, because before that I'm spending 24/7 cleaning and cooking and changing diapers and taking care of babies, which, you know, I don't complain about. It's just, you know, when you're working, when you're on call 18 hours a day, you cannot contribute. Your contribution to your community is raising really, really, really well behaved, but not oppressed babies, toddlers, young children. And it is a process that goes into adulthood. I mean, I'm furious about my separation from my children for the past 15 years, as if they don't need their mother. Now, this is the same crap that was done to Prince Philip with his mother, Princess Alice of Greece. And this is one of the parallels that I show. Who was the real queen? Poor Princess Alice of Greece, whose husband pulled the same crap that my ex tried to pull on me in Spain after the Turk the Turk-Greek War, and he lost that. The other, you know, commanders were executed. He was just put into exile, sent to Saint Cloud. And that's when apparently she's the one who needed to be locked up in a mental institution. One of my mother's friends, whose sons went to Hill House, where Prince Charles went, said, "Oh, these problems have been going on in the court for so long." Well, with British accent. There's nothing that can be done about it. Like, yeah, it's been going on for a long time, and we can go back to Queen Victoria on this one. That doesn't mean there's nothing that can be done about it. It means that we better do something pretty damn fast, because we're headed for another world war. And it has already produced World War I and World War II, and all the damage that caused. So maybe we might want to start learning from our mistakes and face our issues, whether they be family ones, community ones, country ones, or global ones. I don't know, call me crazy. I'll admit I'm the crazy one here. So anyway, God, I pray for Ghislaine. I gotta find a job. I gotta see, you know, this is the poor lady. Of course, I mean, my God, every 15 minutes they come and shine a light in her eyes and wake her up. I was watching some movie with Nicolas Cage, and he's got insomnia, and the doctor's saying, look, if you don't sleep, this you know, leads to you know, hallucinations, your mind can't think, and eventually you die. So you better be able to sleep. Now, 2008, I was terrified, because I knew all my ex had to do was come in the house and kill me. And then everybody, if he had the police in his pockets, was going to say it was a suicide, my family included. Rule it as suicide, and no, you know, sweep it under the carpet. I was terrified. I couldn't sleep at all. I was lucky if I got 2 hours sleep a night, and I slept with a panic button of the urbanization security people, because they were the only ones who showed any kind of concern for me. The police were like, lady, you're his property. He can do whatever he wants. So is the house, so is everything here. He can do whatever he wants. Does it even kill me? Like, well, okay, thanks. I would go to the gym. The gym, that was what saved my sanity. 6 hours of aerobics a day. And I mean, when I do aerobics, I do aerobics. Like any the gyms here, my God, that's a cash cow. Please bring me a decent gym. Well, the kids, he said, you're going to destroy your body. And I said, better my body than my mind. Now, people used to say, oh my God, and this is the advanced step classes. They like, boom, boom, boom. You never miss a step. Even sometimes the instructor would lose where he was, and he'd look at me to figure out where he was in the choreography. And I couldn't even take a basic step class and concentrate enough on that. My mind was so frazzled by the Machiavellian games going on in the courts and the lawyers and collusion with them, where the objective, first the objective was to get me in a psychiatric ward. Like I say, with Prince Alice, that was the case. When that one failed, because I saw it coming, oh, I had to run like a mad woman with all the paperwork they're throwing at me and stuff like that. I mean, that's all I did in 2008 was either run around like a mad woman using the little money that I had for gas. Heat got cut off because they cut all of my assets. And I'm selling gold and whatever I freaking can. My family's like, oh, well, hope things go well. They were there on vacation. See, when Ian Maxwell said, oh my God, any family and friends, if this happened, would be, horrified. Well, no, unfortunately. And not in the Machiavellian world of the American ruling elite. They all hung me out to dry, but it's also the French and also the Spanish. I mean, contacted Astrid Betancourt, who at that time was married to the French ambassador, Daniel Parfait. Please, he's going to kill me. And the courts here are trying to cover it up. And the French consulate is saying, tough shit, lady, as is the American consulate. My mother, this is 2007, this started. John McCain was in the election for the president with Pitbull with lipstick, feminist, Sarah Palin, bimbo feminist, Sarah Palin, and of course why he didn't win, or a good portion of it. Her good friend from Arizona, where she was even president of the American Women's Club of Tucson, Republican Women's Club of Tucson. I had close ties. One of her good friends was John McCain's campaign manager. And I said, just ask the American consulate, or ask John McCain to tell the American consulate to do its freaking job and do a court watch over here. Because if I have a consular rep from the Americans and the French sitting here in every single judicial and extrajudicial proceedings, taking notes, nobody's going to dare pull the crap that they're pulling on me. That's what's all I asked. I wasn't asking for any favors. But no. Nobody wants to get involved. Well, I think my mom's idea was my ex would get me in a psychiatric ward, and then my mom could hit him up for money. She missed her mark there because that wasn't going to happen. But anyway, I think that was her her idea. So see, Ian Maxwell. Oh, and another person that I contacted was Jen Shaw, whose father, Congressman Clay Shaw, was the author of the Missing Childs Act, 1985. That's given rise to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children in the United States, which is more effective in trafficking children than protecting children. Now, Lady Catherine Meyer, whose case was in Germany, and custody battle in Germany. Now I have to wonder if her sons didn't come home from vacation because they didn't want to be with their mom, and what the truth is there. But she snagged herself an ambassador written in Washington, and then started the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's just, brought this up to the international level. Now, she did have to, stop her involvement, or she did have some problems with one of the NGOs that she had to close it up, and then she started another one under a new name. But all of these, none of them do any kind of research. They don't know, just and get up on a podium and it looks good on their resume. It's all over the map. But see, this is where, the connections. When I went to Foxcroft, because Jen Shaw was a friend at Foxcroft, Foxcroft, one of their mottos was, I told two friends who told two friends who told two friends who told two friends. That's one of, obviously living all over the world for the past, well, not quite 50 years in this upper crust, I've met a hell of a lot of people. And my idea with global expats was to utilize that for a greater good, not just to line my pockets. Everybody thinks I'm stupid for doing that, but at least I'm not facing any legal problems, whatever way this thing goes. So, you know, those are, who else did I contact? Who might be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle? Oh, Senator Bennett Johnston from Louisiana. I worked for him from 81 to 85. And there's also former schoolmate from GW, Harvey Eisenberg. He's one of the top merger and acquisition lawyers in the United States. Another one who, you know, it's like with the head of Goldman Sachs. This is Goldstein, Goldberg, I forget. Where you see, and Anne Sinclair is in there as well, where you see the Jewish community has been as instrumental in the degradation of the rule of law and the rise of the Fourth Reich in the United States in the past 40 plus years as the other minorities and the white supremacists. You know, everybody has just been concerned about their piece of the pie, and not, you know, this is where I'm getting real pissed off as well with the foreign nationals in the United States. I'm you know, sticking my neck out, not only to defend the rights of people in my own country, but in your native country when you come here just to cash in. Or, you know, in the case of Ingrid and Astrid, gone to France and gone to England, because Ingrid's in England and Astrid's in Paris, to cash in. So, and Astrid and Ingrid's father was, he came to the United States on a grant and really promoted, and was under the Kennedy administration, I forget what organization, and promoted the you know, foreigners having access to American universities through grants and scholarships and favoritism for them back in the 60s. Well, look what's that has produced. All of those people, I mean, I know some of them were supposedly friends, but I know a lot of me personally, professionally, or in my research, and I'm like, excuse me, you guys have just come here to cash in. You don't care about democracy here or anyplace else, or women's rights, or human rights, or the rule of law, or good governance, or contributing to your communities, or anything. You've just come to join the narcissism epidemic and cash in while the good is getting, or the getting's good, excuse me. You know, unfortunately, I mean, the Marie Antoinettes of the world, you remember what happened to that lady? Done in well. And that's where we're heading. So I guess, you know, I'll be looking at some of that stuff. I mean, as I say, I gotta really try and, you know, find anything. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm one of the most qualified people in Washington for so many frickin' jobs, yet nobody will give me a minimum wage job to keep a roof over my head. And instead, want to see, my favorite If I start an interview with somebody and they say, I really admire your work, or, something to the effect, I know ahead of time my goose is cooked. I'll never get a job offer. And time again, that's the case. Now, the only thing is I am taking note. I'm like, oh, okay. Why is it that you want to maintain the corruption in this city? What is it that you have to hide? So you just got bucked up the top of my list of people who need to be investigated for what they are involved in. I love this, tax avoidance instead of tax evasion. Look, if everybody, if this city, and this is not just Washington, this is London, this is Paris, this is Madrid, this is every capital of the world, because everybody's involved. Don't wake up and smell the coffee. This is going to end very, very, very badly for everybody. Anytime I say that, oh, are you threatening? Are you threatening? I started in 2007. One of my neighbors, because I said, don't F with me. Like, not to her, but everybody who wants to F with me, I will F with them. Because they are. You do not touch my children, my father. You don't mess with me. I will mess with you. And why I might not have any money, and you think that, that's the only thing that matters in this world. God gave me a brain. Believe me, I went to school with all of these people. I know they're not. I know how intelligent or how unintelligent they are. And unfortunately, a lot of them know how intelligent I am. And that's why it's like, yeah, she is a threat. Because I challenge anybody, when it comes to business development. Well, let's start with human rights violation, human rights issues. Chew you up and spit you out. Women's rights issues, chew you up and spit you out. Domestic violence stuff, chew you up and spit you out. Economics, chew you up and spit you out. International Econ 101, I got a 98, which I still contend should have been a 99, in a class that even the econ majors failed at least once. Then I turned around and I explained it to my classmates, and I said, forget everything he said. He's complicating his issues. They all passed the final with flying colors. Commercial law. With one course in commercial law, I understand more about the law than any of the bigwigs there. It was contracts, writs, and torts. 2 lessons he taught us. You ever get in a legal fight, get everything in writing. Oral stuff doesn't mean shit. Second, do not do anything that is illegal, because when you get to the end of the line, it'll bite you in the ass. So I've been walking a straight line on that one from the beginning. And unfortunately, I saw Ghislaine, they're coming after 2 counts of perjury. Yeah, that's why I when in these cases, I'm like, please, just walk a straight line. In the courts, you gotta walk a straight line. We gotta fight this elsewhere, but when you're in that court, you gotta, in the courtroom and stuff, you gotta keep your cool, and you gotta walk a straight line. even though it's really difficult. So those type of things, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll deal with that. You know, that's pretty easy to deal with. It's regrettable, but you know, it's understandable. And business development, international marketing. One of my big beefs with all of the capital ventures, the entrepreneurs, the marketing experts with MBAs who don't know frig. My marketing, international marketing, well, no, this was the marketing 101 the professor. This is the first day. I would say most of it was kind of like, well, okay, the first day was like the important, real important message. He said, because what's marketing? Everybody, you know, had their stuff. He said, no, marketing is about identifying your markets and fulfilling the needs of your markets. What everybody keeps on doing is producing a bunch of bullshit, 70 to 90% failure rates. I mean, techie is all over the map on that one. Yeah, they produced a lot of good technology in the past 15 years, but my Lord, how much have they wasted in doing that? Because Silicon Valley needs to have one big, huge psychiatric ward built for them, just like Washington and Hollywood and New York, Manhattan. Do. That's the only solution I kind of see at the moment, because they're all crazy. They're narcissists and psychopaths who are ruling this country. So, you know, and Steve Jobs. This is our genius. Look at the chaos he's produced. Zuckerberg, Bezos. Oh, one of my favorite with Bezos is he said that his idea only had a 90%, or it had a 90% chance of failure, and he slapped together some business plan on you know, going from New York to California or whatever it was, and was a good salesman, so he got people to invest. I'm the worst salesman in the world. But I do my homework and I know, you know, I'm like, no, this is what's needed. And this is what we got to do. Now you want a huge sales pitch. I need a partner here on that one, because I'm not good at that. That doesn't know that it's just, you know, that's what the marketing function is about. And the administrative part of a business is about. Not sitting on a frickin' podium. Lee Iacocca understood that. It's a shame that nobody else seems to understand that out there nowadays. So anyway, I guess this is going to start the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. As I say, I'm just exhausted from writing. Also exhausted from my videos of repeating the same stuff ad nauseum. And if anybody in Washington needs, I didn't do anything. Well, techie stuff, no. Anything related to horses. I even applied for a job at a skating ring. I mean, I can't compete. And I started before I really got into the competing stuff. And I skated much, but I'm a good skater. I mean, basic skater. And I'm really good at teaching kids. I haven't applied for that job. It's a federal job. I couldn't understand why that, but I'm like, okay, let's get a discrimination one on that one as well. I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All because I'm a rich socialite, dowager, cave dweller in Washington who wants to rain on everybody's parade and fair game for anybody who wants to target me as a scapegoat and sacrificial lamb, just like they are doing to Ghislaine Maxwell. That is exactly what's happening here. And I mean, I'll be going through all of this stuff and posting some things on the internet demonstrating that I know what I'm talking about. I mean, one of my other favorite classes was actually at Cobham Hall. This is where Lady Henrietta Bathurst and Jenny Churchill, this would be the great granddaughter of Winston Churchill. I think great. In this religion course, which actually was a philosophy course, because, oh my Lord, I got this other astounding. It wasn't 98 because it was in 86, which for the British system, everybody's like, well, you're happy if you get a 50, 55 is good, but 86, everybody turned around and said to the teacher, they said, what? Are you kidding? Quimby, she criticizes every religion that there is. Because this was more of an international school than just a British school. I couldn't believe it. Because I don't criticize the fundamentals of the Quran, the Torah, or the Bible. And you know, as I said, this was back when I was 13, 14. So that's been going on for a real long time. As my mother said, you would argue with God. And I said, I would always respond, if he was wrong, I would. So they said, oh my God. And the teacher just said, look, we don't always agree with Quimby, but she argues her cases and she presents her evidence that we can't deny. So, you know, this whole thing, you know, I'm not afraid. You get me in a courtroom, you get me with a lawyer who knows the procedural stuff. That's where they're going to bury me. And I know that. And that's why I need a lawyer. That's the barrister and the lawyer. I've done the job of the barrister. We need the lawyers to submit through the court systems, national levels and international levels and the local levels. Because, you know, I can't do everything. Oh, you know how to do everything. No, I know what I know. I know where I can contribute, but I know where, you know, my limits are, and I'm better to, okay, wait. Then, I mean, the women who are going to the courts to defend themselves, like, no, ladies, we got to fight so that we have decent lawyers to go in and then defend them. Because even if, as I say, even in my case, I can argue this under all, you know, any kind of law you want, but I'll get buried in the procedural stuff. And I can't be expected to know all the procedural stuff. That's where you got the barristers and the what is it in England, because everybody has their own jargon, because in the United States you don't have that really barrister and lawyer thing you do in Spain. In fact, when they started throwing this procuratura at me, who's only adding on more money, and they blocked my account, you know, all of my money, all of my assets, all of my property, how am I supposed to pay for these fees? I'm going, you know, you want to reclaim money, you go to the lawyer, the abogado, and reclaim it from him because he screwed up, so I don't have money to pay you instead of coming after me. It's like It's like if I contract somebody to reform my kitchen and my house falls down, I'm not going to be expected to pay the person who was supposed to reform my house. I'm going to be suing his ass off. Same difference. So anyway, I'm like, what the hell is a procuradora? I'm like, oh, this is Belen Martin. She's up shit's creek without a paddle. Oh, she was another one who, I just, just everything that you're doing is wonderful. I knew my goose was cooked. Thank God that was the night before the hearing. I was like, oh God, I gotta listen to everything this bitch is saying. And I was right. See, the judge in my case should be asking, why the frick do I keep on firing my lawyers? Instead of, oh, she's crazy because she keeps on changing lawyers. It is a judge's. This is going to be really important in the Maxwell case when I get back to the end of the line. It is the job of the judge. The primary job of a judge is to uphold the rights of the litigants within their courts. And that proper procedure is followed and proper law is upheld. Number one job. And none of them are doing it. They're spitting all over that. All over the place. When I saw that Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer was a woman, and this is a real alpha dominance feminist woman. She's of mixed race, but I'm pretty sure there's some African American in there. I'm like, oh God, ask any victim of the courts. The women are the worst, lawyers and judges, and the black and brown ones, Kamala Harris, California. I was like, oh Lord, you people, you're going to put her in as president because Joe Biden, I have to agree, sleeping Joe. So it's going to be Kamala Harris leading this country. We've seen the results. I want to go complain about Trump. Okay, so when I saw Ghislaine Maxwell, I'm like, oh Lord, Lordy, Lord. And I haven't even started all my research into the American Supreme Court. But my first thing is ding, 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 ding with that is they only look at procedural law. So it's only what is introduced. So if a lawyer doesn't introduce something, a judge doesn't allow something to be introduced, then the Supreme Court is not going to examine that. Is what my first understanding. I have a book back here, but that's just the beginning. The whole other can of worms. As I say, I'm working from a laptop with no memory, no assistance. I mean, my family and friends have hung me out to dry from day one. Everybody wants in the feminists want to shut me up. The domestic violence women want to shut me up because I won't agree that only men are abusive and the women out there are these angels, because their agenda is to empower breaking glass ceilings and having it all for the feminists in workplaces, and why they are disempowering the socialites of society, and targeting these women in their witch hunts. This is what all, Ghislaine Maxwell's case, that's what this is all about. All about using her as a sacrificial lamb and burn the witch, burn the witch, burn the witch. It is this medieval form of justice that you know is sick, is really sick, and that's why our legal systems have been developed. So okay, that's it for this evening. I guess I've gone on enough about that, but it's just yet another case that's very, very sad and very upsetting, and just shows you to what extent this country, but even everybody, because why hasn't the British government protested? Why is the international community turning in a blind eye to all of this? You know, it's because they're all, you know, as I say, again, I'm finding again in my research, it's because they're all feminists, minoritists, affirmative actionists, managerialists, and the world go to hell. So, you know, I'm saying, please God, that the Maxwell family look at this and go, Prince Andrew. We got a little fairy godmother over there who's trying to help us. We might want to listen to her. So I pray to God, to my father. That's his owl. He always loved wise owls. They got the same bullshit. That's how we ended up in London back in the mid-70s. Another long story, but his integrity, hard work, and dedication to the medical profession and caring for people wasn't appreciated by the medical community any more than mine is by the legal community. So it's taking over the baton from my father for the family, for the Wilcox, the Dickinson, and the Paul family. It's a heavy baton. So anyway, have a good night. Bye-bye.